Nobody attended this auction. I bought a galactic cruiser and shocked the galaxy. Jalen Vireo had always been a scavenger, not the romantic kind you read about in stories, the kind with a shiny laser gun and a mysterious past. No, Jalen survived on the forgotten edges of the galaxy, where abandoned spaceports and dying satellites were more common than bustling cities. He liked it that way. Less people meant less trouble, and more opportunity. That morning, the sun of the Zathari cluster burned dim through the gaps of the space hub's orbiting towers. Jalen floated between derelict cargo ships, scanning for anything useful. Old crates, broken circuits, even data chips from civilizations long gone. Anything could be sold for a decent price. As he drifted, his wrist terminal beeped, alerting him to something unusual. Items for sale. Low attendance. Unknown sector. Jalen raised an eyebrow. Low attendance usually meant a good chance for profit. Most auctions were crowded, with high-powered alien bidders snapping up rare items at prices Jalen could never afford. But here, nobody cared. Curiosity won over caution. He adjusted the thrusters on his small hover unit and set a course for the auction coordinates. The auction house appeared slowly on the terminal screen, a massive, ring-shaped structure floating silently near a dying star. Its exterior was scratched and weathered, as though the universe itself had forgotten it. As he docked, Jalen noticed the eeriest thing. The docking bay was completely empty. Not a single ship besides his own. Inside, the vast hall echoed. Rows of empty seats, holographic bid terminals flickering on and off, and a gigantic viewing window that showed the galaxy's dark, star-dotted expanse. At the center floated the prize, a galactic cruiser, massive and gleaming with alien design. Its hull shimmered in muted silver, marked with strange glyphs no human could read. The auction's AI, an ancient but functional hologram named Clerk. 9. Buzzed to life. Welcome, bidder. Initiating auction. Current bid, 1,000 credits. 1,000 credits? For a ship that looked capable of war, exploration, or even colonization. This had to be a mistake, or a trap. Nobody else. Not a single bidder, not even security drones. It was like the galaxy itself had abandoned this auction. I'll take it, Jalen said, unsure if the AI expected something more. Bid accepted. Ownership transferred. Clerk 9 replied in a monotone. And just like that, Jalen Vireo, human scavenger from the edge of space, owned a legendary galactic cruiser. He floated through the cruiser's airlock, half expecting alarms, turrets, or alien soldiers to appear. Nothing. Just silence and the faint hum of the ship's engines. The interior was massive, far larger than any ship Jalen had ever seen. Hallways stretched into darkness. Corridors lined with panels etched in alien symbols that flickered faintly. He touched one of the panels, and it responded to his hand, glowing softly. Huh, he muttered. It likes me. The bridge was a sight to behold. A panoramic view of the galaxy stretched before him, and every control panel seemed alive, reacting to his presence. He pressed a button, unsure what it did, and the ship's engines whirred to life, though the airlock remained firmly closed. A strange sealed chamber in the middle of the ship caught his attention. Its door was marked with unfamiliar glyphs, almost glowing. He tried to open it, but it resisted. Instead, a holographic interface appeared before him. Symbols shifted and formed words in basic English. Warning. Authorized pilot recognition required. Proceed with caution. Unknown capabilities present. Authorized pilot? Well, I guess that's me now. He spent hours exploring. The ship was more than just a vessel. It was a marvel of alien engineering. It had advanced navigation, cloaking systems, energy shields, and weapons that looked more like miniature stars than conventional turrets. Jalen ran his fingers along the panels, feeling a mixture of awe and excitement. Imagine the things I could do with this, he whispered. Explore uncharted space, find lost civilizations, or maybe just make a fortune selling tech to whoever is dumb enough to ignore me. Suddenly, the silent hum of the ship changed. A soft, mechanical voice echoed through the corridors. Human detected. Species recognition confirmed. Adaptive learning initiated. Okay, that's new. Do you wish to engage advanced protocols? Jalen laughed. Sure, why not? Immediately, the ship seemed to respond. Panels lit up. Maps of nearby sectors appeared on holographic displays, and a soft vibration ran through the hull. It was alive, in a way, not fully machine and not fully organic, almost sentient. As he tested the controls, a sudden warning flash appeared. Warning, unauthorized signal detected. Intercept course initiated. Jalen squinted at the display. A small fleet of alien ships was moving toward the auction house. Probably security. Probably angry. He smirked. They really should have attended the auction. The alien ships closed in fast. Jalen activated the cruiser's engines. With a thrill he had never felt before, he realized the ship responded perfectly to his instincts. Every twist, turn, and evasive maneuver he tried worked as if the ship had been waiting for him. The alien fleet fired, but the cruiser's shields held. Jalen laughed, dodging blasts like a dancer. He realized something amazing. The galaxy thought humans were weak, reckless, unworthy. But here he was, piloting a ship that could outmatch fleets, and he was just getting started. Hours passed as he tested the ship, learning its capabilities. The alien fleet eventually gave up and retreated. Jalen floated in the middle of space, heart racing. He looked out at the stars. This is it, he said softly. This is my shot. He didn't just own a ship. He held the power to change his life, and maybe the galaxy itself. And all of it started because nobody else showed up at the auction. Jalen smiled, a mix of pride and mischief. Let's see how the galaxy reacts when a human decides to play with forces far beyond their expectations. He leaned back in the captain's chair, eyes fixed on the endless black of space, alive with possibilities. Somewhere in the distance, civilizations he had never known existed were about to underestimate humans for the last time. Jalen Vireo had never flown a ship like this. Sure, he had piloted cargo haulers, dodged space pirates, and patched up broken shuttles in a hurry. But the cruiser, his cruiser, was different. It wasn't just a ship. It was alive in a way that made his pulse race. Every button, every screen, every hum of the engine seemed to respond to his thoughts. It was as if the ship knew him and somehow trusted him. He spent hours learning its systems. The holographic panels were intuitive, adapting to his commands even when he wasn't sure what he wanted. Symbols shifted into readable charts. Energy flows, shield capacities, and propulsion data danced across the displays. He pressed a sequence of buttons that looked like a random pattern and watched as a map of nearby star systems appeared. There were hundreds of ships, stations, and sectors, most of them in territories humans had never explored. The cruiser's core AI finally spoke in full, a deep, resonant voice that made the hull vibrate slightly. Human pilot recognized. Adaptive protocol active. Ship systems optimal. Recommend exploration and testing of operational capabilities. Jalen chuckled. Well, thanks for the advice, pal, but I think I can figure this out. The first test was simple. Movement. He guided the cruiser out of the abandoned auction station and into open space. The engines were silent, almost gliding, but every twist and turn felt precise and sharp. He tried accelerating to maximum speed, and the ship responded instantly, leaving a streak of light across the stars. Not bad, he muttered. Not bad at all. Then came the weapons systems. Panels lit up with alien diagrams, energy beams, and defensive shields. Jalen wasn't sure what any of it did, but instinctively, he tapped a few controls. A holographic training simulation appeared on the main screen, projecting a fleet of virtual enemy ships. The cruiser's response was immediate. Turrets pivoted, energy beams fired, and defensive shields adjusted automatically. Oh, Jalen said. You really like me, huh? Pilot adaptation successful. Combat protocols optimized for human ingenuity, the AI said. Jalen laughed. Humans were known for improvisation. That was the thing aliens always underestimated. They calculated, they planned, they followed rules. But humans thought outside the pattern. And now, the galaxy's most advanced ship was acknowledging it. Days passed as Jalen trained with the cruiser. He tested its cloaking abilities, its navigation speed, and its defensive systems. Every success gave him confidence. Every failure, like when he accidentally triggered a system that flooded the hallways with zero-gravity bubbles, taught him something new. Then came the first real challenge. A small fleet of alien patrol ships detected the cruiser. Jalen noticed their approach on the holographic map. They were sleek, sharp, and armed, clearly expecting an inexperienced human to panic. Jalen grinned. They think they've got me figured out. Let's see about that. He pushed the ship to full speed. The patrol fleet fired first, energy blasts streaking through space. The cruiser's shields flared and absorbed the hits with ease. Jalen twisted the controls, pulling sudden maneuvers. The ships struggled to follow. Every turn, every dive, every acceleration was instinctive. The ship adapted, anticipating his actions and amplifying them. In moments, Jalen had outmaneuvered the fleet completely. The aliens fired again and again, but the cruiser was untouchable. The patrols, frustrated and confused, eventually retreated. Jalen sat back, heart racing. "They'll remember that," he said with a grin. The AI chimed in. Assessment. Human pilot demonstrates exceptional adaptability. Combat success rate, 97%. Suggest further exploration and strategic testing. He had the galaxy's attention now, whether he liked it or not. He realized something. It wasn't just the ship that made him dangerous. It was him. Humans had a way of seeing possibilities that aliens often ignored. They were underestimated, yes, but that gave them freedom. With confidence growing, Jalen decided to explore uncharted sectors. He plotted a course toward a nearby system marked as unknown, a region humans had never reached. The cruiser's engines hummed softly, and the AI mapped out routes, avoiding dangerous asteroid fields and radiation zones. As they entered the system, the holographic display showed a planet, dark and stormy, orbiting a red star. Jalen felt a thrill. Unknown planets always had secrets, and he had a ship capable of uncovering them. The cruiser descended through thick clouds. Lightning arced across the atmosphere, and the winds buffeted the hull, but the ship held steady. Jalen navigated the treacherous currents, and at last the clouds cleared. Beneath him stretched a city, not abandoned, not ruined, but alien, massive, and humming with activity. Towers rose into the clouds, ships flew in perfect formation, and enormous gates marked entrances to military zones. "Looks like someone forgot to tell me to stay out." He decided to observe from orbit, hiding the cruiser's signature using the advanced cloaking system. What he saw shocked him. Alien patrols moved like clockwork, technology far advanced from anything he had ever known. And yet, he noticed a flaw. Patterns repeated. Calculations relied on predictability. The city, while perfect, had blind spots. Jalen smiled. Humans always found ways to notice what others missed. As night fell on the planet, he practiced more maneuvers, refining his control over the ship's systems. Then came a faint signal on one of the communication panels. It wasn't encrypted, just a curious pattern of pulses. Jalen leaned forward. "What's this?" The AI responded, more curious than ever. "Unknown signal detected. Suggest investigation. Probability of origin. Intelligent life." Jalen's eyes lit up. "Well, we can't ignore that, can we?" He plotted a course toward the source. As they approached, the signals grew stronger. On the holo map, he saw a ship, battered and small, clearly in distress. It was human, or at least partially so. Jalen couldn't be sure. Human colonies were scattered and rare in this sector. He docked carefully. Inside, a single figure slumped against the wall, unconscious. Jalen grabbed a medkit and checked the person. "They're alive," he muttered. "Good. Humans always appreciate a rescue." The AI chimed in. Recommendation: alert local authorities or provide assistance. Jalen shook his head. "Nah, we'll handle it the human way. Fast, smart, and without waiting for permission." Hours later, the figure woke, groggy but alive. They blinked at the cruiser, awe in their eyes. You flew this? Alone? The stranger asked. Jalen grinned. Alone? Maybe. Lucky? Definitely. Human? Absolutely. Over the next few days, Jalen explored more sectors. Each mission revealed something new about the cruiser's capabilities: advanced warp jumps, self-repairing hull sections, energy manipulation, and stealth modes that rendered the ship invisible even to the most advanced scanners. And everywhere he went, the galaxy started noticing. Alien intelligence networks picked up unusual readings. Fleets began to whisper about the human who had stolen a legendary ship from an empty auction. A human who could outmaneuver war fleets and who seemed to bend alien technology with sheer instinct. Jalen didn't care about the whispers. He cared about one thing. Humans were underestimated, and now, with this ship, they were about to prove themselves unstoppable. Then, one night, as he charted a course through a dense asteroid belt, the cruiser spoke again, in a tone different than before. Full system integration available. Warning. Usage may alter galactic power structures. Jalen leaned back in his chair, eyes wide. Well, that sounds promising. Recommendation: proceed with caution. High probability of attracting attention from multiple civilizations. Equally, in awareness. Good. Let them watch. Let them underestimate humans. That's always been our advantage. For the first time, Jalen felt a deeper sense of purpose. This wasn't just a ship. This was a key to changing everything. Every corner of the galaxy that had ignored humans would now learn they were not just survivors. They were innovators. They were unpredictable. And they were here to rewrite the rules. Jalen pressed a series of buttons, setting the ship on a new trajectory. The stars blurred as the cruiser accelerated beyond known limits. He laughed, feeling the thrill in his chest. Let's shock the galaxy, he said. The galaxy wasn't ready for Jalen Vireo. Not yet. When he had first bought the cruiser, it was a joke, a forgotten ship in a forgotten auction house. But now, after days of testing, training, and exploration, he was something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. A human, underestimated and dismissed by centuries of alien superiority, now wielded technology that could outmatch entire fleets. He adjusted the controls of the cruiser, glancing at the holographic map. Multiple alien fleets were converging on the sector he had just left. Word had traveled fast. Faster than he had expected. The galaxy was curious, nervous, and maybe even afraid. Jalen grinned. That was exactly the reaction he wanted. Let's make this interesting, he muttered. The first encounter came near the Corin Trade Hub, a massive station orbiting a bright blue star. As Jalen approached, he noticed dozens of alien ships scanning the sector. Military vessels, patrols, and even what looked like private security cruisers. All of them had been sent to check the human who had purchased a legendary cruiser from a forgotten auction. Jalen activated the cloaking system. The cruiser shimmered, bending light around it until it was invisible. He slipped past the first layers of patrols without a single alarm. He had learned something important. Humans didn't just rely on technology. They relied on instinct, unpredictability, and clever improvisation. The aliens, for all their preparation, weren't ready for human ingenuity. Once past the patrols, he accessed a communication network used by the trade hub. The alien systems were advanced but predictable. Every message followed a strict protocol. Every encryption method had a pattern. Jalen scanned it for minutes, then sent a single message across the network. Humans are not insignificant. We will adapt. We will surprise. Do not underestimate us. The message spread across the hub's communication channels like wildfire. Screens and alien ships flickered as officers read the warning. Some laughed, thinking it a prank. Some panicked, realizing a single human pilot had bypassed their entire network. Jalen leaned back. That's right. Let them panic. The cruiser had capabilities far beyond anything he had even imagined. He tested them cautiously, learning the limits of its engines, shields, and weapons. Then, he made his first deliberate strike, not against people, but against the hub's automated defense drones. Energy beams cut through the drone's formations, dismantling them without causing unnecessary destruction to the station itself. The aliens watched from orbit, shocked. Their most advanced defensive systems, neutralized by a single human with a ship they had written off as abandoned. In the chaos, Jalen transmitted another message, this time to multiple alien fleets. Humans are unpredictable. Humans are clever. Humans are here. The reaction was immediate. Fleets scrambled, communications went haywire, and alien officers demanded answers from one another. For centuries, humans had been dismissed as weak, a species unable to survive beyond a few colonies. And now, one human had shocked the entire galaxy. Jalen didn't stop at intimidation. He began forming alliances with civilizations the larger powers had ignored or oppressed. Minor species, often treated as second class in the galactic hierarchy, were impressed by his courage and innovation. One such species, the Valari, had lived under strict control of a larger empire. Jalen docked his cruiser near their main station, and representatives came aboard cautiously. He showed them the ship, letting them experience firsthand how human ingenuity had allowed him to master it in days. "We can help you," Jalen said plainly, "but you'll need to think differently. Trust your instincts. Use what you have. Don't wait for permission." The Valari were shocked, not by his words, but by the fact that a single human had outwitted empires and fleets while asking nothing in return. They agreed, quietly, to form a loose alliance. Jalen had gained his first followers, minor players in the galactic game who now had reason to hope. As the news spread, Jalen realized the true value of his victory. Humans weren't just surviving, they were changing the perception of an entire species. Fleets that had ignored humans now studied their movements. Political councils debated how to respond. And Jalen? He was already several steps ahead. He plotted a course toward the Solari Expanse, a sector known for its heavily fortified trade networks. He wasn't looking for war. He wasn't looking for conquest. He wanted visibility, to show the galaxy what humans could accomplish when underestimated. The first challenge in the Expanse came in the form of a fleet ambush. The Solari warships moved in perfect formation, weapons charged, communications coordinated. Jalen didn't panic. He had learned from experience, from improvisation, and from the ship itself. The cruiser twisted and turned, dodging energy blasts, slipping through gaps in the formation. Each move seemed impossible, but the ship adapted to him, amplifying his instincts. A single well-timed sequence disabled the lead ship's engines. Another disrupted the fleet's communications. Within moments, a fleet that outnumbered him 10-1 was retreating. When the battle ended, Jalen transmitted a simple message. Humans are not to be ignored. We will continue to adapt. We will continue to survive. The galaxy will notice. Not arrogance, not cruelty. Pride. Pride in humanity's ability to survive, to innovate, and to rise above expectation. Weeks passed, and Jalen continued his campaign of subtle but effective disruption. The galaxy began to take note. Humans were no longer a minor species. They were a wild card, unpredictable and cunning. During one mission, he encountered a diplomatic delegation from a major empire sent to negotiate, or perhaps intimidate, the human who had purchased the cruiser. They arrived aboard a massive flagship, its size dwarfing the cruiser. Officers expected fear. They expected submission. Instead, Jalen did something unexpected. He invited them aboard. "You want to talk?" he asked calmly. "Fine, let's talk. But you'll see humans aren't what you think." The delegation stepped onto the cruiser, eyes wide at the technology and the ship's capabilities. They tested him, asked questions, and even attempted subtle threats. Jalen answered calmly, using logic, clever improvisation, and small demonstrations of the ship's power. By the end of the meeting, the delegation left with a new respect for humans, whispering to one another about the unpredictable species that had shocked an entire galaxy. Yet, not all reactions were favorable. Some alien powers grew wary, plotting strategies to contain humanity before it became too influential. Jalen expected this. It was natural. Any species underestimated for centuries would face resistance once it rose. But Jalen had a plan. Not a plan for war, but a plan for influence. He continued traveling through minor sectors, rescuing stranded ships, aiding civilizations in need, and demonstrating human ingenuity at every opportunity. Everywhere he went, humans gained respect and even admiration. Humans adapt. Humans survive. Humans win. He repeated quietly to himself. It became more than a phrase. It became a warning and a promise. The final event of this phase came when Jalen encountered an abandoned alien research station, floating near a dying star. Inside, he found a map of galactic strategic points, locations unknown to most civilizations. Data suggested these points could control trade routes, fleet movements, and even communications across vast sectors. If humans could secure even a fraction of these points, their influence would grow exponentially, not through war, but through intelligence, foresight, and clever action. He transmitted another message, this time more bold. Humans are here to survive, to innovate, and to lead. Underestimate us at your own risk. Across the galaxy, civilizations paused. Fleets were recalled. Councils debated. Traders whispered. Scholars speculated. And all because one human had bought a ship from an abandoned auction and refused to play by the rules. Jalen Vireo leaned back in his chair, watching the stars streak past as the cruiser navigated through hyperspace. A smirk crossed his face. They thought I was just lucky. They thought I was reckless. They thought humans were weak, he said softly. Guess it's time they learn the truth. The galaxy had been shocked, but this was only the beginning. Humans were rising, not with fleets, not with armies, but with courage, intelligence, and unpredictability. Jalen's eyes gleamed with determination. Let them watch. Let them try to catch up. Humans were just getting started. The galaxy had changed. Not overnight, but in the span of a few daring weeks, Jalen Vireo had rewritten what everyone thought about humans. Where once humans were dismissed as weak and insignificant, now they were a species to watch, to respect, and even fear, not for brutality, but for ingenuity. Jalen floated in the captain's chair of the cruiser, staring at a holographic map of the galaxy. He had allies now, minor civilizations he had helped, freed, or impressed. He had fleets of information, trade connections, and influence spreading across systems once thought lost to obscurity. And yet, he felt no pride in conquest. Humans didn't need to dominate to be strong. They needed to survive, adapt, and lead in ways no other species could predict. Time to see how far this goes, he said softly, fingers tapping the controls. The first task was solidifying alliances. Jalen contacted the Valari, who had joined him early, along with several other civilizations he had aided. They gathered at a neutral station, orbiting a peaceful star. Leaders from different species approached cautiously. Some were skeptical, others were outright wary. Jalen smiled, leaning forward. You've all seen what humans can do. We don't rely on fear or threats. We rely on intelligence, creativity, and instinct. Work with us, and the galaxy becomes safer for everyone. The assembly fell silent. Then, slowly, leaders began to nod. They saw the truth. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their unpredictability was a force for stability and progress, not destruction. By the end of the meeting, the loose alliance had transformed into a coalition of trust, with humans, represented solely by Jalen, at its center. But not all civilizations were willing to accept this new order. A few powerful empires, long accustomed to controlling others, began plotting against him. They sent fleets, spies, and mercenaries to test the limits of the human-led cruiser. Jalen expected this. Predictable patterns. They underestimated one thing. Humans adapt. One fleet approached the Koran trade hub, intending to capture or destroy him. Jalen positioned the cruiser near an asteroid field and activated the ship's advanced cloaking system. The fleet scanned, fired, and maneuvered, but the cruiser remained invisible. Jalen sent a signal, not a weapon, not a threat, but a message that spread across their communication channels. Humans adapt. Humans survive. Humans innovate. Attack at your own risk. It wasn't a bluff. The fleet, unable to locate the cruiser and unnerved by the message, began retreating. Instead, he recorded their movement patterns, analyzing their tactics for future encounters. "They'll try again," he muttered. "And we'll be ready." Next, Jalen focused on expanding human influence. He didn't do it with armies or wars. Instead, he used innovation and diplomacy. He helped starving colonies find new energy sources. He guided lost civilizations through dangerous star systems. He solved problems others called impossible. Every act, small or large, spread the word. Humans were capable, clever, and unstoppable when underestimated. One of his most impressive feats came when he encountered a planet suffering from a collapsing orbit around a dying star. No civilization had been able to stabilize it. Using the cruiser's advanced systems and human ingenuity, Jalen calculated a method to correct the orbit. The planet's leaders watched as the enormous energy beams of the cruiser nudged their world back into stability. Cheers echoed across communication channels. Jalen simply smiled. Humans didn't need to conquer. Humans needed to think differently, act boldly, and solve what others could not. By now, news of Jalen's deeds spread across the galaxy. Humans were no longer background characters in the cosmic story. They were central players. Fleets that once ignored human colonies began observing them. Traders sought human products and ideas. Scholars debated human methods, puzzled by how one small species had achieved so much in so little time. And Jalen? He continued to push boundaries. The cruiser was more than a ship. It was a symbol, a beacon of human potential. One day, as he traveled through the Solari expanse, he received a transmission from an alien empire that had previously dismissed humans entirely. Their representative spoke carefully, even respectfully. "Your actions are remarkable. We wish to establish formal relations." Jalen leaned back, a smirk crossing his face. "About time," he said. "Humans don't ask for permission. We just make our place." But Jalen's greatest moment came when he discovered the final map hidden within the cruiser, a data archive left by its original creators. It detailed key systems, trade routes, fleet stations, and research facilities across the galaxy. Whoever controlled these points could influence trade, war, and communication. Instead of using it for domination, Jalen made a choice. He shared this knowledge selectively, with civilizations willing to cooperate and innovate rather than destroy. He created a network of trust and collaboration, where humans acted as catalysts for progress, not tyrants. Across the galaxy, leaders whispered about the human who had mastered a legendary cruiser, who could have conquered worlds but chose to unite them instead. Years passed. Jalen became a legend, not just for his skills, but for what he represented. Humans were no longer dismissed. They were admired, respected, and feared, not for violence, but for unpredictable brilliance. He often reflected on the journey. It all began with an abandoned auction. No one had attended, no one had cared. But in a forgotten sector, a human had taken a chance, claimed a legendary cruiser, and changed the galaxy forever. Jalen looked out at the stars from the bridge of the cruiser. He thought of the humans in scattered colonies, the civilizations he had aided, and the alliances he had built. Humans adapt. Humans survive. Humans rise, he whispered. The galaxy had been shocked, yes, but now it had learned to respect humanity's potential. Jalen smiled. One human had shown the galaxy what was possible, and there were millions more humans waiting to follow. As the cruiser streaked past distant stars, Jalen felt a sense of fulfillment. The galaxy wasn't fully safe, and threats would always appear. But humans had earned their place. They had proven that intelligence, courage, and unpredictability mattered more than raw power. Somewhere in the distance, alien fleets were still scrambling, empires were still debating, and scholars were still trying to understand what had happened. And Jalen? He was already planning his next journey. Another adventure. Another way to demonstrate the limitless potential of humanity. Because humans were never meant to be ignored. They were never meant to be underestimated. They were meant to surprise the galaxy. HFY moment. Humans, represented by one daring individual, had risen from insignificance to prominence, not through brute force, but through intelligence, courage, and adaptability. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Underestimate humans at your own risk.